Welcome to our channel, Lakai. Today we have a special guest. His name is Nicholas, and we're gonna talk about Haitian in Canada. How are you doing, Nick?
I'm doing well. How are you, Max?
I'm doing very well. We will do that in English. We want to do it in French, but my French is a little bit rusty, and
So is mine.
yeah, so his French is a little bit rusty. So we're gonna do it in English. Um, Nick, before we start, my first question for you, Aaron Haitian, is what first sparked your interest in Haiti and its culture?
I would have to say, definitely coming from Montreal, Quebec, where we have a lot of Haitians in general. When the earthquake happened, it was, you know, people were talking about it all over the city. It was a big deal. Canada was, because of our huge Haitian population in the city, Canada and Montreal in general was very, you know, fixated on the whole problem, trying to see what we can do to help out. There's a large effort to try to get people involved, and yeah, that would I'd say that's what started it.
That is good. That's good. So, have you had the opportunity to visit Haiti?
I've not. I'd like to, but I've not.
Well, today's not the perfect time to go, but hopefully soon.
Mm.
All right. So, how was your experience with the Haitian community in Canada? Share your perspective on Haiti.
Well, see, it's kind of one of those interesting things where you just kind of saw them as like part of the regular community because there, like I said, there's a large Haitian community in Montreal, especially. I can't speak for the rest of Canada, but Quebec being the province, the French language province that it is, it draws in a lot of Haitians and it has like special rules that makes it easier for Haitians to get there and get settled in. And so they were just, like anyone else really, is just part of the population there. And especially like I had a French teacher who was Haitian, so that was just, it didn't, as a kid you don't think anything of it, you just think, oh, they're another French speaker.
Definitely.
uh,
So, do you have any close Haitian friends or people that you work with? If so, what have you learned from them?
well, there's you, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
I did have a friend as a kid who was Haitian, but it was never really a topic of discussion back then. We were both very young. This was like years ago in elementary school. And again, aside from like when the earthquake happened, and that's when like everything was being discussed about Haiti. Oh, and of course, people really like the whole voodoo aspect of Haiti. That's always seems to be an interesting topic that people like to discuss about Haitian culture, especially. But I would say my interest started a little later, since I am a student of history and politics. Studying Haiti's history has always been a big draw for me because it's such an interesting country on the world map, especially in the New World, in terms of its culture, how it developed, and the different governments it held.
All right. So, you probably have learned a lot of stuff from the Haitian culture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, you said interest in the voodoo. I know not everybody really have interest in voodoo. They're probably curious about it, but not like a positive interest. So, what was your point of view when you learned about the voodoo in Haiti?
I think, yeah, for sure, there's definitely like an aspect of voodoo that it adds a bit of like, I guess you could say some people use it for like the original zombie, for example. That whole story came from voodoo,
Yeah.
so people have that kind of like introduction to it. For me, I think what caused my interest in it is the sort of mysticism behind the whole, like this kind of hybrid of different cultures creating this sort of new spirituality that's almost like seems in a very similar light to like the shamanistic religions of North America, but also like with clear African roots in it. Then, of course, I feel like I should mention Papa Doc was a big part of, learning
Yeah,
about
definitely.
voodoo.
Yeah, sure. All right, then in that case, are his Haiti generally perceived in Canada, and do you think those perceptions are accurate?
Haitians being safe in Canada?
Yeah,
I would say yes, for sure, like in the Montreal area. I mean, in Quebec in general, it's more about language than about ethnicity. So if you're predominantly an English speaker or a speaker that doesn't speak French, then you're more likely to have any sort of like discriminatory things towards you. That's just because of the history of Quebec and French as a language in the province in general. That's not to say there isn't, some levels of discrimination against people who are not native Quebecois, but I would say it's not that common.
yeah, but what I'm referring is that how they perceive Haitian in Canada.
In Quebec, positively.
Okay.
Yeah. When back in 2017, after the first election of Donald Trump, we had a huge surplus of Haitians coming up into the country. Almost immediately, the Quebec government set it so that the RCMP would be ready to receive them at the borders because they were coming up through like the middle of winter, and they would often arrive completely like frostbitten and all that. They'd be set up in hospitals, given tents, and helped as much as possible to get brought into the country, usually in a very welcoming manner.
All right. Then. So, what do you think are some common misconceptions Canadian might have about Haitian?
Probably that the main language of Haiti is French.
Yeah.
They might just assume that, like, I think Creole, Haitian Creole, is often like overlooked. It's not something that especially people from Quebec, they will just assume Haitians just speak French and not Creole at all.
Okay.
I think that will play a big part in it. Aside from that, I think the biggest one would be the state of the country and how they think it's it's always in this that it's always a big ruin, I guess you could say, because of between the earthquake, the images of the earthquake,
Yeah.
and that image had a very strong impact on Canadians. That's what Haiti looks like.
Yeah, that was my next question. I was about to ask, how does the media in Canada portray Haiti, and do you believe it gives a fair representation of the country?
I mean, yes and no. In some aspects, I think the reason why they try to, like, not that Haiti isn't in a position that could really use some help, but sometimes I think they really kind of double down on just the dire state of affairs in Haiti. But I think like cities like Cape Haitian, for example, and other parts of the country that are a little more stable and don't have the kind of reality that like the capital might have. I think that's one of the core problems I find with the way the media portrays it, because it has some sort of like agenda.
Yeah, because it's not only Canada. Most of the country usually when they present Haiti, they usually take the bad side of Haiti. The image, the pictures that they usually put on internet is like the worst part of Haiti. When we do know Haiti has some beautiful places
Yeah.
also. So basically in Canada, most of the thing they portray is like the bad side of Haiti.
Yeah, yeah. To generate more of an emotional response
Yeah.
and sympathy.
Yeah, which I think is not good because I mean it's okay to present both side, like the bad side. Well, I would not call it the bad side, but the ugly side and then the beauty side. But when you only present the bad side, what you're telling people is like, oh, okay, it's a poor country. Don't go there.
Yeah, that definitely is not doesn't help.
Yeah. All right. So, what was your initial impression of Haiti before interacting with the Haitian community, and has your perspective changed?
Yeah. So my first interaction with the like when I really started diving deep, going down that rabbit hole on Haiti, I was really fascinated about the initial governments of the Haitian country, like the attempt at forming a kingdom, forming an empire. Uh, that whole idea kind of like intrigued me a lot, especially since it seemed to have a semblance, especially early in its days, it had a semblance of stability. It had the whole island under it, and just the fact that it was the first in like one of the most successful slave revolts in history,
Yeah.
and it that was like I think that was really fascinating and quite the achievement, and so that was really what started me to think a lot about the Haitian country and history. Fast forward to today, after interacting with yourself and others in the Haitian community, especially as an adult, I would say I've learned a lot more for sure, especially knowing more about the insights of those who are on who lived through the events that have taken place in the past,
Yeah.
and seeing because like you could study a country and all its facets from abroad, but until you actually interact with its people, interact with its culture, actually go there, there's still going to be an element completely separating you from what actually is the truth.
Yeah.
And I
Definitely.
think learning through you and others has been really a great experience.
Yeah, because one thing is what you have seen or what I have told you, and another thing is when you have make the experience by yourself. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because it's one thing. Okay, you see Haiti in the news and then in books, and then it's another story when you actually sharing with people from Haiti.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how integrate is the Haitian community within Canadian society?
Quebec, pretty integrated. Like, I would say pretty integrated. It wasn't that hard for them to get like early when Haitians first started coming over to Montreal and Quebec, there was definitely some tension, but I think due to like again language plays such a big role in kind of bridging that barrier, um, that growing like there's this great YouTuber who I know who's Haitian. He's based in Montreal, and he talks a lot about his own experiences growing up in Montreal. Today, like it's like really a thing of the past for him. But he says like when he was younger, he had some issues with like bullying and stuff. But then as he got older, a lot of that just disappeared, especially like later, like in his high school life and as an adult. And I think that actually speaks volumes about how well Haitians integrate into Montreal, just because Montreal in general is a very multicultural city, and we tend to be pretty good at like mixing everybody together. That's why we say we're a fruit salad versus United States' melting pot.
Yeah. So, have you noticed any contribution from the Haitian community to the Canadian culture, business, and art?
Yeah. I mean, for sure in the arts, they're like going to art museums or like some. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I have been to places where it's like, oh, this whole exhibit was done by Haitian immigrants here to Montreal, and that this is stuff I saw as like a kid growing up in the city. But I had yeah for sure like I said, one of my French teachers was a Haitian, and we were exposed to a lot of that.
Great. So, well, what challenge do you think Haitian face when immigrate to Canada?
Hmm. I do think, especially with the situation today in Canada, Canada's always had a very thorough, very good immigration process. It was often championed as one of the best in the world, and it's been one that's been in place since the 1950s. And up until recently, there was never a real problem with it. And people have always, especially in Canada, we've always prided ourselves on being the most multicultural country in the world. And this sort of idea that anyone who comes is welcomed. And it's only been recently that there's been a bit of a flip on that. However, I think for Canada with Haitians, it's a little less so. Especially, again, I'm going to focus on the province of Quebec because that's what I really know. And it's kind of the weird province out of the rest of the country. Quebec is the only province with its own immigration criteria. And it wants more people who are French speaking or of that, history into the province. So there is a lot more, incentives to try to attract people who are French speaking or be coming from Africa, Haiti, or even from France to move to Quebec because they want to.
So basically, you said it's not that hard for them to immigrate to Canada compared to the USA.
Yeah, I would say it's much easier.
Well, I never been to Canada, so I cannot give my opinion on it, but I definitely trust you. So what similarities or difference do you see between Canadian and Haitian culture?
Yeah. So similarities and differences. Similarities, I would say Quebec's culture, I'll have to refer to Quebec instead of the rest of Canada, but because Quebec, it was originally Nouvelle France. It was a French colony, and obviously it stopped being a French colony after what was called the 7 Years' War, and it became a British colony then. There was a lot of anger with how Britain first came onto the scene, where they were trying to restrict French, restrict a bunch of different cultural roots, and that kind of changed the sort if you go into the history of the Quebec and French people of Quebec, it created this sort of dynamic where the French felt alienated within their own home, and this has been Quebec has a long history. It's been around for hundreds of years, and they don't see themselves as French from France. They see themselves as Quebecois, and it was in this last century, during the mid-century, that the French were like, okay, we need to have our own revolution because we are mistreated within our own country, our own community, and they really started pushing to try to reclaim their identity, and that's where there used to be the slogan of Quebec was La Belle Province, but now it's Je me souviens, to remember their roots and all that. And I think that sort of struggle to kind of break out of this sort of is very ingrained in the Quebec mindset, and I think that's a similar mindset that Haitians have.
Definitely. But any differences between? I think there's a lot.
There's a lot of differences. Yeah. Yes, I figured I'd focus more on the similarities. Because the differences, there's a lot of differences. Yeah.
I mean, starting with the language.
Of course, French is not I would say for Haitians, Creole is probably the main language spoken. And Quebec, its French is very different from regular French. It's often viewed as kind of it is kind of a time capsule of French. So the French spoken in Quebec is hundreds of years old versus the French in France, which is more modern. So certain terms, but in terms of differences,
the food
for sure.
I mean, now you have tried Haitian food, you have tried Canadian food.
Oh yeah.
So which one, in your opinion, is the best? I know you're Canadian. You're probably gonna say, okay, Canadian food is the best. I haven't really tried Canadian food, I would say, so I
Yeah.
cannot really give my opinion. But
I'm gonna kind of
I
mock
I will
Canada here
trust
again.
you. I will trust you on this one. Which one is the best?
I'm gonna have to mock Canada here. So Quebec has its own food. The rest of
Okay.
Canada, not so much. All right, but Quebec. So I would say I really like Quebecois food. I do really like Haitian food, but I'd have to say Quebecois food. It's just it's it's really good. It's very underrated.
But I think it's different food. I mean, it's different seasoning. It's our breakfast. It's definitely different from your breakfast.
Yeah,
Our lunch is different, I guess.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
But compare in seasoning. Which one do you think has the best seasoning?
Seasoning,
Yeah.
that's a tough one because oddly enough, Quebec has a lot of roots from mixed into it from like parts that you wouldn't understand. So we have
Yeah.
like a lot of curries mixed into some of our foods. Uh, but then at the same time, we also douse everything in maple syrup.
Okay.
That's not a joke. We really do. And maple syrup is like like it's that sweet. Oh man.
You know what? I think I will have to invite like a Haitian that lives in Canada to ask his opinion, because I know you always say Canada. So let's forget about this one. What about the religion? What about the religion in Canada compared to the Haitian? Because I know Haitian is not only Vodou, because we do also have Christian, Catholics, all those kind of stuff in Haiti.
Predominantly, the religion of Quebec is Catholics. Quebec, though, is also one of the most atheist places you could possibly imagine. There was a big sort of shift in the public psyche during the 60s, and now I would say actually probably more atheist than Catholic, for sure. Because so many, religion's not a big thing. I remember as a kid growing up again in Montreal, that the odd kid was the one kid who actually went to church or who actually had a religion, versus everyone else who was just atheist.
That's good. So how do Haitian values such as family, community, and resilience compare to Canadian values?
Oh, they're like for Quebec, almost the same. It's égalité, fraternité, that whole thing. It's
So
like
basically, it's kind of the same.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And especially now in Quebec, they have a big thing on resilience because they see themselves as like we're gonna brave through the storm because they're
Yeah.
all concerned that their culture is disappearing.
Yeah, because I think if we're talking about resilience, I think Haitian community is one of the top resilience community that we can say, because compared to what we have been through and what we're still going through, and then even though we're still like trying to see the light at the end of the tunnel, so
Yeah.
I think Haiti is, we can say it's one of the top resilient people that I've ever known.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, have you ever participated in a Haitian cultural event in Canada?
I I would say like I went to a cultural festival. That'd be the extent of it.
Okay.
But the cultural festival was one of several cultures. Like
So it wasn't just Haiti.
it wasn't just Haiti.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, definitely I will have to take you to one. Who knows when? From your perspective, what are some of the biggest challenge Haiti faces today? Because I know you're big into politics, so
Yeah.
I know definitely you know one or two things about Haiti. So what are the biggest challenge you think Haiti is facing today?
That's a whole other podcast episode.
Well, John, you can probably give one or two.
Yeah, so for sure, I would say probably number one is the actual government design and structure of the country. It's like the whatever constitution they have in place now is clearly doesn't work, and it needs to be a complete gut job. I think in Haiti's case especially, the state it's been in since, because I don't remember the last time the Constitution was actually modified, but Haiti's gone through quite a few constitutions, and I'd say the current one is probably is worse actually, because some of the earlier constitutions made a lot more sense even, like one of the ones from the late 1800s was much better, but that's I think is probably number one. It needs a complete reorganization of how it's supposed to function as a country, because. Which is difficult. There needs to be like some sort of like national consensus on changing the actual constitution and organization. Aside from that, obviously the crime.
The crime.
The crime, yeah.
When you say the crime, what are you referring to?
Gang violence for sure. The I know this is more recent with the access to firearms, especially the kind of firearm grade that we're seeing today.
Yeah.
But that for sure needs to be addressed badly, because in order to achieve what I said first, that needs to happen
first.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, despite its struggle, Haiti is known for its resilience. What example of Haitian resilience have you witnessed?
I would say in many forms. I would say right now, with the current circumstances in the country, we've seen, especially with this recent president of the United States and the whole election campaign last year, with the kind of stuff he was saying. The Haitian community's response to that, how they came together over it, has been very encouraging, and also with Haitians feeling more sort of incentivized to kind of, hey, we need to start talking about our nation. I think that's really, valuable. And now this is the most recent thing I could think of too in my mind, but probably one of the times I would say that had a very strong impact on me was, again, during the whole major earthquake. That you saw a lot of, Haitians coming together to really kind of get through that. And it was a big deal, and you saw that everywhere. Both in Canada especially, we saw it, but also on what the media was portraying of Haiti.
Yeah, definitely. And unfortunately, well, I will not say unfortunately, because I was there when the earthquake, and then seeing people being positive after this, that's really made me think that we are very resilient, because it was very, really bad moment for all Haitian. So, in your opinion, what is something the world could learn from Haiti and its people?
I think for sure the tenacity of the people, like you mentioned, the resilience for sure, and the kind of idea that, despite how many times they've been kicked, because the country's been kicked plenty of times, they keep trying to keep, moving forward. They try to, there's a really strong community there, and I think that if given the chance, Haiti can become a really prosperous nation. It's got beautiful coastline and all that, and it could easily, obviously the Dominican Republic does well with its tourism. Haiti could easily do the same. But I think, for sure, the tenacity of its people, and how, how willing, when I go to your family barbecues, you have everybody coming.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, is wonderful. It's wow, you're all you're all kind of, you all know, you're not necessarily all related by blood, but you all know each other, and you all get together, and I think that's really quite something.
Yeah, that's, knowing that you're really into politics, so this is our last question to be done with the podcast today. What advice you will give to the Haitian community that could help the country getting better?
Oof, that's a big one. I think it starts with I think there needs to be a kind of gradual radiative response to the country, where in Haiti right now is probably the most stable, and it's probably Cape Haitian. I think it needs to start there and slowly but surely overtake the rest of the country when it comes to bringing kind of back that sort of stability in order to have a functioning society. So if anyone interested in kind of improving their country wants to do that, I think first, like get involved, get involved with your community in Haiti, and even if you're living here, do things here to sort of get involved and talk about the issues down in Haiti and sort of try to maybe try to reach a consensus on what needs to be done. Like I mentioned earlier, with the sort of reorganization of the government, that needs to happen. There needs to be a real movement to get that to happen. And I think even though Port-au-Prince is the capital, the government is right now non-existent there. So there needs to be somebody needs to step up.
Yeah. And do you think also we should focus on the tourism part that could help the country get better?
For sure, like hospitality jobs.
Yeah.
In general, are they're good, for sure. Especially in a place like Haiti that needs to get itself back on its feet. So make it, like I said, with like Cape Haitian, that should be right now, since it's the safest part of the country. There should be a sort of a way to kind of showcase that, to get people feel like, okay, you could come here, you'll be safe here, and then to start, bring some money back into the pockets of the country and its people.
But the way that the other countries is portraying Haiti right now, do you think people will take the risk to go to Haiti, or do we have to make a campaign where we'll let people know, okay, this is that part of Haiti which is bad, but it's not aiding, the entire country that's really that bad?
This is definitely a branding issue for sure. There's gonna have to be a campaign and a sort of like, real kind of commitment to try to brand the different parts of Haiti as being okay. Hey, be it in the north in Cape Haitian, or like there's this one city in the south whose name I'm forgetting.
Jacmel?
I think so. It's
I think Jacmel is the south.
It's like it's on the south coast. It's supposed to be another big tourist destination.
Yeah, because I know the two part of Haiti, which is Cape Haitian. There's Cape Haitian, there's Jacmel, and then there's Lekai, I think. Yeah, I think one of those are the three major cities that people usually visit.
I mean, yeah. So for sure, I think like tourism is a decent industry to kind of, ramp up in order to get some immediate cash. But one thing about tourism is that, and hospitality, it's not great long term, because it's not the highest paying industry. It's like there are much higher paying industries, and I think Haitians here, be it in the United States, in Canada, or other parts of the world, who have come here, who've been educated here, who are doing well here, this should be kind of like their moment to think, okay, if we are proud as Haitians, we want our country to do well, we should start thinking about, okay, how can we bring our expertise, our skills into the country? Because one of the biggest problems with any country and how it falls is called brain drain. When all the intelligent people, all the people who have the skills to actually make something happen, leave
the country,
and then they never come back, they never fix. So here's an interesting one. Michiko Kaku is this physicist from California, and he talks about how the H-1B visa in the United States is what sucks in all the geniuses of the world. And he was explaining how in both India and China's case, you'd had people going back to China, going back to India, and starting their own Silicon Valleys in India and China. Haiti could use its own Silicon Valley, its own like tech hub, its own like something to kind of like bring bigger industry and other sort of diversified economy to the country.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're totally right about that. It's a matter of rebranding the country, and then the people that left the country, they need to get together and then find a solution, go back to the country. Well, I will not tell anybody right now to go,
Yeah.
because it's kind of silly if I say that. But I think we should have a long-term plan where people that really have more education go back to the country and then give what they learned from other countries so the country can get better.
Yeah. This definitely could start abroad. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to be
in the country. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much thing we can do even though we're living in a different country.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Nick. It was a pleasure. We have learned a lot today about Canada and Haiti. Even though I'm still not agree that Canadian has the best food ever compared to Haiti, but this is
I need to try more Haitian food.
well. All right. So thank you very much. I appreciate all the advice that you have give to us about how we can resolve all those politic problem that we have in Haiti, and I think a lot of people are gonna learn from it. So I don't know when we're gonna get our next conversation. Maybe in a year, or who knows?
Or we could do it like over a video call.
Yeah, we can do that over a video call. All right, thank you very much, and then I hope you guys can learn a lot from whatever Nick says during the podcast. And then, even though he's Canadian, but he still have a lot of information about Haiti because he's really into politics. I can say. All right, thank you very much. Remember to subscribe, like the video, and share with your family. Until next time.